So Dia de los Muertos is the celebration of the Day of the Dead.
Yeah, so it's actually like pretty widely celebrated throughout Mexico. And yeah, so it does have religious affiliation. It does also have affiliations with the indigenous communities as well. It really harkens back to celebration of ancestry, just kind of that concept of like indigeneity. So yeah, it's really throughout, but I think Oaxaca has a particular affinity for the celebration of that festival. So people flock to Oaxaca, which is I think why there was this grand like concentration of people in southern Mexico at the time that we were there.
But basically it's a day, or 3 days rather, for families to remember those who have passed away. And actually, like, the tradition goes that you're actually with those who have passed away. So that's why there's so much about like being at the graveyards, because it's like really sacred. Cooking meals to eat with those who have passed away. It's usually like their favorite meals, and there's like special things that people cook during that time. But it's also a really joyous celebration too, and there's a lot of fiesta involved, and yeah, so there's both joy and sadness, I would say.
It can be really personal too. Like in my host family's house, like, and in most Oaxacan homes during Day of the Dead, they have this ofrenda, which is like offering. You put pictures of your family who have passed away on like a table, and you put flowers on there and stuff that they loved, and it's just a way to remember them and just celebrate their lives.
Some people actually believe that they are reunited with their relative spirits on that night.
So part of Dia de los Muertos is that you go to these grave sites, and there are, thousands of people, and they sit around the graves of their family members who have passed away, and they bring food, and they drink beer, and they talk, and they share stories about these people that have passed away. So as you're walking through, they encourage you to come, to stop by, and to ask questions about their family members, just try and get to know them, because there's this belief that in the afterlife, right? So they're still present with us, and talking about them and sharing in food and drink. In fact, they pour their beer like onto their tombs. And so just this like vivacious culture of life, of celebrating life instead of kind of the morbidity that is the U.S. culture, and kind of like reveling in death. Right. It's a much more joyous celebration that we were invited to participate in every turn.
But we actually had this really cool assignment where we got to interview locals about their opinions about foreigners participating. And this like sticks in my memory today. My host mom said that we're not foreigners, we're guests. And wow. That was really cool. And so she and others saw it and see it as a way for foreigners to become educated about what Dia de los Muertos actually is. And I think one of the best ways to educate yourself is experiential learning.
What I heard from like when we were there is that Oaxaca has the biggest and best celebration. Like they're really proud of the way they do Day of the Dead. On one night there's this huge parade with like people are dressed up and they go all around the city. For me, my host family tried to really include me in their traditions and like the larger traditions of Oaxaca.
At least the culture there is very, very welcoming. And part of their culture is the insistence that you engage with them. It's considered rude not to, actually.
That was like really, really special, just to walk around and see families by their grave sites and have candles lit and food made, and there was music playing. And like I said, there's a lot of different emotions. So as you're walking around the cemetery, it's a bit quieter. So the music that's playing is more mellow. Families are just kind of hanging out. And we actually were able to talk to some of the families and ask them if, they were willing to share a little bit about who they were remembering that night. And that was really cool to get to do that. And then, the other piece of it is this like really like energetic jumping up and down kind of a celebration. Like literally we were jumping up and down, and people are in costume, and it's really fun. The funniest memory though is we were in like a little tiny village to like celebrate, and there's no public restrooms, and I needed to use the restroom. And so we were just walking around, and you know, I was like, oh, do you know where a public restroom is? And they're like, no, but you can use ours. And so I just used some like random neighbors' restroom. And they were so there. And then after they were like, do you want to stay for mezcal? I was like, no, I'm okay, thank you. And if you don't know what mezcal is, it's a kind of hard alcohol that is home to Oaxaca, I guess. It's really smoky, and it's made out of agave, but it's like really special over there. So it was just cool that they invited me to stay. I didn't stay, but it was such like a just very welcoming. Just the spirit of wanting to welcome in the stranger.
I was gonna say, one thing that stands out for me is that you know, every host family kind of like sets up their, you know, their altars and their like their decorations and everything. And the grandson of my host mom was begging us for weeks to like put up the skeletons and the Katrinas, which are like the female skeletons, and to do all these things. He's begging. So we finally did it. And the day of Dia de los Muertos, he came over, and I was like in my room or something, and I just heard like screaming, and I went downstairs, and he was like sobbing hysterically, and he was like, they're scaring me, Grandma, take them down.
Oh my gosh.
Aww.
We
So
actually had to take them down while he was there, and then we had to put them back up again. And so we were kind of laughing about that, and she was like, that's the kids these days, like they get so excited about it, but when it comes to it, they're just too afraid. I think that was something notable that just kind of stood out to me, that was like super funny.